I want to extend my deepest thanks to my brother, the Deputy Speaker, my Oga, someone that is indeed very dear to me and has become a mentor and a senior brother, the Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, Engineer A.A. Sule, the House Leader, my good Prof, and of course, the Executive Secretary and heads of other agencies here present, not forgetting critical stakeholders in the sector. It's a great honor to have you here in our newly established library complex. Thank you for our related agencies and their leadership for honoring our invitation to this. Thank our host, the National Assembly Library and Executive Secretary, Honorable Henry Nwaoba, for ensuring that the legislative process is enriched with research, data, and evidence-based decision-making information. The legislative process entails much more than presenting bills and pushing them through the chambers in the hope of passing. We know that when legislation is done correctly, it improves the sector, and it goes without saying that it can have detrimental effects if constructed wrongly. To be effective, the committee first consulted with industry experts, regulators, and relevant stakeholders to develop a legislative agenda. This agenda identifies key priority areas that must be addressed to improve the sector. The key priority areas for the committee include governance, economy industrialization, security, geoscientific data standardization, environment, and human capital development. These priority areas were identified by researching the sector's bottlenecks and focusing on using global and domestic data to understand gaps in the sector and legislation. As the key priority areas were identified, the common denominator between the various priorities was the need for better governance. Thus, the committee focused on a deep analysis of the legislative framework that regulated the sector. We also took a synopsis of the ministry's 7-point agenda, the interest of regulatory bodies and agencies in drafting legislation that addresses priority areas and was also implementable. The committee maintained that the principal act was developed using global best practices. However, our responsibility, I beg your pardon, was to reform it to meet the country's current realities and to nationalize it. You can see this in the establishment bill for Solid Mineral Development Company, which is one of the two bills that allocates 75% of the stakeholding in that company to the private sector, of which out of the 75%, 25% will be for the Nigerian public and will be held in trust by Ministry of Finance Incorporated, while the last 25% block will be for the Federation of Nigeria. The primary bill, and just to mention, is going to be ruled by KAMA, and this is necessary because the solid mineral sector, as prescribed by the Mineral Act of 2007, is a private sector run sector. So this gives the government the edge to be able to participate in that space. Now, the second bill, the primary bill, repeals and reenacts the Principal Nigerian Mineral and Mining Act 2007 by reworking structures based on the priority areas. The first, among others, being security and, of course, non-reporting. This is one of the key factors to the stalemate of the solid mineral sector. Most of the challenges presented in the sector or the issues contributing to prolonging the deadlock in the sector. This, we hope, will be addressed by establishing the Mines Inspections and Environmental Agency, which will provide improved, deeper oversight and inspection and monitoring of the sector and mining activities. This agency empowers regulatory authorities by supplying cohesive and persistent data on activities on mining in the country. The agency will have offices in every state to assist with reporting and oversight. We further identified that one of the lapses in security is the lack of coordination, synergy, and cohesion between the federal and state governments. To close the gap between the federal and state governments, the bill further empowers the Minerals, Resources and Environmental Management Committee, MIRENCO, to enable effective and joint oversight of the sector. It is clear that MIRENCO is poorly funded and lacks the resources it needs to support its activities. The bill hopes to use MIRENCO as the facilitating tool for the federal government to work with state governments to secure their needs and ensure the formalization of the sector. Furthermore, the bill hopes to establish the authority, the Solid Minerals Development Authority, that will house the Solid Mineral Development Fund, whose core mandate, among others, will be to see to the effective gathering of marketable and investment geospatial data, which is the missing link to bringing in the required investments required in Nigeria, and it will also serve as the body that will lead to inclusion in the sector, because it will be headed by people that will be built from the 6 geopolitical zones, taking into cognizance federal character, and will serve as the pancreas and the bridge for other agencies to have stronger synergy within the sector. Closely linked to this will be the community development and environmental and the environment, and these are equally prioritized in the bill. The Petroleum Industry Act sets 3% of their annual operational expenditure to the host communities. And of course, we cannot reinvent the wheel. Last week, the President assented and passed the Electricity Power Sector Reform Act 2023, which allocates 5% of annual operating expenditures to host communities where GECOs are established. In the bill, which is this bill now, we have set out 5% of revenue of all minerals mined to host communities. And this is because the sector right now is rather informal, and determining operational cost of the last year might be a bit difficult. However, it is something we believe that can be reviewed and improved through this program. We also incorporated more efficient policies to enforce the environmental remediation fund to ensure that host communities are not left with deplorable sites and that the environment is adequately protected and restored after mining activities. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, members of the First Estate of the realm, there is much to cover and many more changes that we must review to ensure that the bill meets the sector's demands. The public policy dialogue is a space for stakeholders to hold an integral role in the legislative process to ensure that the bill is adoptable and implementable. This cannot be done if experts and holders of regulation are not part of the process. The legislative process includes many parts: debates, concurrence, and revision, but the most important is collaboration. Before this bill goes to public hearing, we confer bills from the red chambers. We go to public hearing and go into conference with the red chambers. I seek your expertise and knowledge to ensure that we implement lasting reforms. I can assure you that if we succeed here, we will be able to change the country's fortune. History beacons on us. Kindly join us on this journey. Thank you all for your commitment and welcome to our public policy dialogue.
Good morning, everyone. Your Excellency, Honorable Henry Wahuba, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I think this thing is not doing very well. Let me, since the Deputy Speaker is here, you can assume that the Speaker is here, and so I will be very brief, since he will speak for us. I want to specially believe that the Speaker did not make a mistake when he appointed Right Honorable Jonathan Gaza as chairman of the House Committee on Solid Minerals. As someone who's been associated with that sector in an earlier life as chairman of the Bitumen Implementation Committee, I was very excited when he was appointed, and he's been in touch ever since. I can assure you right away that you have the 100% support from me and my colleagues and the leadership of the House. Let me thank those who've been able to come here early this morning and to wish you and your committee very well. What you can take for granted is that the House is right behind you. That sector needs to be refocused and repositioned, to do more for the Nigerian economy. The minister is not here now, but I see his enthusiasm and his commitment. We have to encourage him. When we see what they are doing and how they are doing it and encourage them, it's a lot easier than trying to count the mistakes and what they have not done. They've just resumed, and with the steps they've taken so far, I can assure you that we are all pleased. We pray for you. We will support you intellectually, morally. I'm not too sure financially, but you come from a mineral producing state, and your governor comes from a sector where they know how money moves. And I'm sure he would also give you all the support. Finally, what has been lacking, I may not have an opportunity to say it again, is that many governors think that the whole talk about solid minerals is a joke. In fact, in this country, if you want to count how many governors have ever bothered to talk about solid minerals, you may not find up to 5. And that is where the problem is. So the president should call them to order. Maybe have somebody educated on what solid minerals means. It's not just when you have gold, even your water, clay, it's all part of solid minerals. So please, Your Excellency, the Governor of Nasarawa, through you, talk to your colleagues. That sector is a sector that can make the difference in Nigeria. It is bigger than oil. It's like people don't understand the blue economy. What is there? You go and ask other countries. So I thank you for inviting me. I thank you very much for putting this on, and I can again assure you of my total support, encouragement, and goodwill at all times. Thank you.
For his remarks, Your Excellency. I think we need to appreciate His Excellency better.
No. I will hold all of them. Gentlemen, in fact, I'm so happy with just the few words made by Professor Yembe. Because all along it is about the reform. He said something. He says solid minerals is bigger than oil. And a lot of people may take it as just a mere statement. I have spent most of my life in the upstream sector before I went to the downstream sector in the oil and gas sector. I know Nigeria has roughly about 40 billion barrels of oil reserve. I know Nigeria has just about 200 trillion standard cubic feet of gas. That's it. So in fact, in the US, we used to say Nigeria is a gas country that has some oil. But come back and look at it. How many states, in reality, apart from now that we are having oil in large commercial quantity in some northern parts of the country? If you take that out, how many states in reality have oil? Solid minerals, every state of Nigeria has one kind of solid minerals or the other. So it is not a question of being parasite. It's not somebody taking something from somebody that they don't deserve. It's not everybody will be proud of it, and it will be part and parcel of everyone that we have solid minerals. Now looking back at the kinds of minerals that we have, which were the things that made Nigeria what Nigeria was from the beginning, when Nigeria couldn't do anything but tin in those days, to now a situation where you can go and find each one of these solid minerals in every state. So it will be the pride and the future. Now with oil, most of the debate has been, let's get away from fossil oil, fossil fuel. We're getting away from it. But with these minerals, and I will pick only one for instance, that is lithium that we are talking about today. Clean energy. The batteries that we need, electric cars, everything looking at lithium. And Nigeria having a huge quantity of lithium right now. Commercial quantity in not only Nasarawa, but in some other states. Where, I won't call any nationality, but people from other countries are the ones who are benefiting from it. Our people are just getting peanuts. One community in Nasarawa got some kind of compensation for a very small area, 700 million to a community. This is Yahoo. They were so excited they got a lot of money, which was nothing compared to at the time when lithium was running for roughly about $76,000 per metric ton. It has come down now to less than 20,000. But that is because lithium has become more like oil. You know, issues come, they go up. Issues come, they come down. So I think, sir, the reason why I said I must come to this event, and I'm happy that you are having the relevant people here. If we're serious, very serious about the future of Nigeria, the future economic situation of Nigeria, we must reform what we call the solid mineral sector. And this reform must come in form of the policies, because I was looking at the document you have. You have so many policies that you are going to look at. So we must look at those policies and reform them where it has to benefit Nigerians. If we don't do that, we'll just be joking and then making, for example, you say so many governors, just like Professor said. How many governors are showing interest and solid minerals? Oh, yes. I remember at NEC meeting one time, one of the governors said, when they give them license from the cadastral office in Abuja, they come to him, he takes away the license and say, okay, I will give you my own license before they can go and mine. You know, to a certain extent, that's an abuse of policy. But that is out of the frustration of not reforming the policies. So I know we all have events that we have to go. I can talk about solid minerals for the next 2 hours, you know, and I just want to indicate how important it is, and I want to commend Honorable Gaza, you know, for carrying out this event, and I want to commend him for being able to gather the kind of people that you are gathering, because those are the people that will make the policies that will support you. I wish I have all the time to listen to all the various presentations of the various members, but please do me a favor, send me a copy at the end of the day so that we'll have the opportunity to look at it. I thank you for giving me the opportunity, and God bless you. CEOs of government agencies and other top government functionaries, including the heirs of this beautiful library that I'm visiting for the first time. distinguished invited guests, distinguished members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I think first and foremost it's appropriate for me to apologize for coming a little late because I didn't want to come later than the Deputy Speaker. But please, you have to forgive me. We arrived actually from Abidjan after watching the match around 5:30 this morning with His Excellency, the Vice President, and then before I got home it's already 6:30, so I actually went to bed at 7 o'clock, but my brother woke me up at 9 o'clock and asked me to try and be here. And this is a very important event for me. That's the reason why I'm here. Before I go into the main event, let me, since I have the opportunity today, okay, the DG Cadastral is here. He's one of the most right people to be here. Come and sit here. I think it's very important for you, sir, to be here. In fact, you can sit on my seat. I will move to You are the one on the hottest seat, so stop running away. You sit there, because most of the issues to be discussed today about reform are going to be reforming your department. Before I say anything, let me make some comments about Professor Julius Henry. I always admire him when I see him sitting on that floor in the House of Reps. 23 years ago, he was still a professor, and he was appointed actually by President Olusegun Obasanjo to come and investigate what was going on in African petroleum. That time, the House of Representatives came into being only 2 years earlier, in 1999. And he came and did a fantastic job. And then, because of the job, probably President Obasanjo appointed him to work with him directly. And after that, he moved to the House of Reps. And he's become actually what my in-laws, the Igbos call Amala. He has become very Amala in the House of Reps. But the reason why I'm making the comments about him is that I see a lot of young people. The moment they go to the House of Assembly, the next thing they want to go to House of Reps, next thing they want to go to the Senate, next thing they want to be Vice President, President. He is a gentleman that has stayed there quietly, and now he has become an institution that when the young people come, they learn from him. And this is what some of the American presidents did. Those who even wrote the American Constitution went back to the Senate. You know, at the end of the day, they become an institution, so people refer to them. So please, sir, let nobody confuse you with being Deputy Speaker, Speaker. Continue to remain where you are so you can be the institution. Looking at the invitees, when I was told that the president of the ADB will be here, this will be here, I don't think any of these people will be here, let me be honest with you, because not everybody cares about solid minerals just the way he said, like some of us did. Because at 4:30 this morning when we were departing from Abidjan, he was the one that escorted us all the way to the airport. So I don't see how he will be here. I sat down next to the speaker yesterday watching the game, and I kept feeling his temperature throughout the time that he was there. And I knew the speaker also will not be here. So those who will be here after living only 2 hours are very few. And because we care about solid minerals, and that is the reason why I'm here. I also want to say one thing again, just before I go to the main event, about the march yesterday. I think Nigerians should learn from what has happened during this march. A lot of you probably have not seen what we saw. The whole country came together wearing orange. And the intimidation was 10 times more than what I have ever seen in my life. We walked into the VVIP section. I was wearing my cap, the Eagles cap. And we look around, and I was the only one wearing the wake up. And the person, I won't say his name, sitting next to me, he said, don't you think you should think about this now? And then if you look at the people, they devoted so much resources, so much time, so much love for their team, something to be honest with you that I have never ever seen. I have watched Super Bowl a few times. I have been in the US most of my life, but I had never been to Manchester because I'm a Man U fan, you know, and yet I have never ever seen the kind of support and love on the streets. All the villages will come out by the roadside, every one of them wearing orange on the streets. Those are the kinds of things I'm sure you will not see. So the amount of investment they made, that made the people hungry, the players hungry, and in fact, we were extremely lucky that this game was just 2-1. So we should commend our people that this game was just 2-1. Because with that intimidation, I expected this game to be at least 5-1 or 5-0. So our team had done wonderful, and Mr. Vice President delivered a very good speech, and we should commend them because the intimidation was too much. You will see our players were not themselves yesterday at all. So now going back to solid minerals.
Spoken passionately because it is a sector that needs the voices like yours. I'm very happy to see you today. I also appreciate the fact that you just left Abidjan. 2 hours you're here. That is not a patriotic spirit. I wonder what it is. The leader of the House of Representatives, well-celebrated professor, that has raised a lot of leaders, even governors from the classroom, and also that pay their dues. I always like mentioning this part, that you are one of those that gave birth to this democracy. And when I respect you, I don't respect you just because you're the leader of the House. I respect you because you're one of those who we are on exile fighting for the democracy of this country. I really commend you and welcome you to this program. Professor Julius Yambere, the Chairman House Representative Committee of Solid Mineral, my good friend, Jonathan Boefi. Very cerebral, you have a good response, Governor. You have a very good response to the National Assembly. Decent gentleman, thorough, a good legislator. Deputy Chairman of the Committee, Honorable Joe Sunday. The Chief of Staff to the Deputy Speaker. I'm sure we have the representative of the Minister, Mr. Minerals here. And the Executive Secretary of this beautiful edifice that we have here, the National Library Trust Fund. My own friend and brother, in whom I'm well pleased. Right spec for the right hole. My own brother, Henry Wauba, quite cerebral also. One of the people who respected when he was in the House. And I'm happy to see he has served in the National Assembly. I'm not sure if the representative of the President of African Development Bank is here. If you're here, you're well recognized. I've also cited the DG of the cadastral that the governor took time to invite to take the front row. Glad to see you, my brother and my friend. You plan did a good job, but after today I'm sure you will do better. the other gentlemen, they are wearing the same cap with me. I recognize you, sir. Our invited guests and gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I think the protocol is long enough to accommodate all of you, and I'm sure we have done a good job on that. I bring you warm compliments from the Speaker, my good friend, Abbas PhD, and the members of the House of Representatives, especially those who are not here with you today. Our gathering today is quite auspicious and expected. This public policy dialogue is engineered to create the appropriate right of way for the necessary adjustment and policy making creativity that is required to optimize the promising prospects of Nigeria's mining sector. While governments hold many of the levers to deal with the great challenge of our time, businesses, on the other hand, have the innovation, the technology, and the talent to deliver the solutions that we need. It is through this crucial partnership that we can unlock the true potential of Nigeria's mining sector, not just for economic growth, but for sustainable development and shared prosperity. Thus, I am convinced, very well so, that the governing philosophy of the mining sector in Nigeria should henceforth be approached with a private sector-led lens. Today I stand before you not only as Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, but also of this bill. This legislation, if passed, will represent a turning point for our nation's mineral wealth. I'm also convinced that Nigeria's vast mineral resources have remained largely untapped, and is unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. Our duty call today is to turn the tide. There are indications of a renewed vigor in our mining industry, fueled by a collective will to diversify our economy, create jobs, and unlock the immense potential that lies beneath our soil. 2016 to 2025 mining industry development roadmap, aiming to increase the sector's GDP contribution 3% by 2025, is already showing progress. Projects like the Sejilola Gold Project in Osun State, governed by a private sector-led lens, are injecting millions of dollars into our economy and attracting much needed investment. To demonstrate this concisely, in the third quarter of 2023, Sejilola Gold Mine in Osun State, Nigeria's first industrial-scale gold mine, posted a total sum of $118 million in revenue for its owners. $180 million in revenue. Emphasis for its owners. So if you are still sitting on the fence, you wonder what you are waiting for, both as government and as the private sector. Tor Exploration Limited, after reporting 71.7 million in earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, monetization in 2022, according to its publicly available financial statement for 2022 and 2023. Reporting I'm talking about is $71.7 million. You can imagine if we have 10 or 20 of such operations across Nigeria. And we have the capacity to do that in terms of what we have underneath the earth. In terms of our reserves. Initiatives like the simplification of licensing, mining cadastral. Initiatives like the simplification of licensing and competitive royalty regime attract global players like Tor Exploration, showcasing the potential for an industrial scale mining sector. We've done it with gold mining in Osun State. We can replicate it across all states of the Federation. The value chain of 14 other commercially viable solid minerals that are bound in our country. 40 other commercially viable minerals, not just gold. However, challenges remain. Insecurity, inadequate infrastructure, and a lack of skilled labor continue to act as bottlenecks. To be more precise, there are some quarters back with empirical data from Reuters citing that 80% of mining in Nigeria is carried out on an artisanal basis, and that there is a clear correlation between the artisanal mining and the rampant violence in parts of northwest Nigeria, where gold mining is predominant. Problem definition, problem identification, before you begin to provide solutions. The way we are going about our mining is encouraging insecurity. So if we talk about insecurity, we should also consider the way we go about our mining. This is where the House Bill 751 and 8 other mining-related bills currently under consideration come in. They are not just amendments. They are a comprehensive reform package designed to address these challenges and propel our mining sector into the future. So, what does this bill aim to achieve? Being part of those who drafted this bill, being part of those who co-sponsored this bill, these are some of the things we are telling you. Number one, enhance security I just mentioned. By fostering collaboration between mining companies, communities, and security agencies, we can create a safer environment for investment and development. And I'm sure you cannot agree any less. Number two, infrastructure development is what this bill is preaching. We are committed to investing in critical infrastructure like road, railways, and power, making mine operations more efficient
more cost effective. Number 3, we are advocating for skilled workforce development. We are building partnerships with educational institutions and industry leaders to equip Nigerians with the skills they need to thrive in this sector. Number 4, streamline regulation. The new legislation will simplify bureaucratic processes, reduce red tapes, and create a more transparent and predictable regulatory environment. And I'm sure you know what I will do to the mind of investors. It will increase the investors' confidence in the sector. Number 5, community engagement. We recognize that mining development must go hand in hand with community development. This bill prioritizes responsible mining practices that ensure local communities benefit from the wealth extracted from their land. And I'm sure you've heard the chairman of the committee mention 5%, just like Mr. President just signed the electricity bill that gave 5% to the indigenous people, the owners of the land. That is a precedent that has been set by that bill and by that asset. And I'm sure that Mr. President, because this falls under his Renewed Hope agenda, would like to do the same for the mining sector. We're not asking for more than what he has approved for the electricity sector, 5%. We're saying also 5% those who own the land. And these resources will be used to develop the communities. Let me be clear. This is not just about profits. It's about building sustainable mining industry that benefits all Nigerians. What do we want to see? We want to see by this bill that more jobs are created, particularly for our young people, increased value addition, with processing and refining happening within our borders. It's been observed that we export our mineral resources oftentimes as a primary product, which is a disservice to our revenue. It is important that we consider adding value to our mineral resources before selling them. And this is possible within the borders of Nigeria. So we want to see that processing and refining happens within the borders of our country, which invariably will add the value of the amount that we pay for our mineral resources when exported. The nation, government, the legislature, we are thinking of having our products processed in Nigeria before export. Secondly, what are we expecting? We're expecting environmental sustainability, ensuring responsible mining practices that protects our land and resources for future generations. And this is in line with the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goal of the UN, especially border environment. We don't want it to mine and leave the communities vulnerable. So the practices must be in line with best global practices, especially in view of climate change, global warming, and all the challenges that comes with it. We expect to see this reform package is not the end, but the beginning. That it is a foundation upon which we can build a thriving mining sector, diversified economy, and a brighter future for our Nigeria. I urge, in closing, all stakeholders, government, businesses, communities, civil society organizations, join hands, work together to make the vision reality. Let us leverage the power of partnership, the power of innovation, the power of technology, unlock the true potential of our mineral wealth. This is possible, and I know we have all it takes to do it. I'm happy seeing the governor here and other stakeholders here together. You can count on the partnership from the legislature. Any area beyond this bill, this sector needs legislative intervention. As part of the leadership of the House, the presiding officer of the House, you can count on us to give that to you. The time for action is now, not later, not tomorrow. Let us seize this opportunity and transform Nigeria's mining sector to a sustainable growth and development agent. Thank you very much. As I declare this public policy dialogue formally open. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.